Hey everybody, Charles for HumbleMechanics.com. Today, I'm going to be taking your questions on footwear, Cabrio transmissions, electrical diagnosis tools, and more. This is episode 146 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. All right, to get a question on a show like this, email me, charles@HumbleMechanic.com. Be sure to put question for Charles in the subject, and also in one sentence right at the top, ask your question, mash the enter button a few times, then give me all the details. That helps me get to the point of your question much, much faster. Also, if you don't see your question on a show like this, be sure to check out the quick videos playlist on YouTube. That'll have a bunch more one question, one answer, very short videos. All right, before we get into the show, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. And a couple of really cool announcements coming. Normally I do them right now, but I'm going to save them for the end of the show. So if you guys don't normally watch to the end of the show, be sure to stick around because I think you're going to be pretty excited about what we got coming up. All right, with that all wrapped up, let's get into your questions. First one comes from Aaron. I noticed you do a lot of product reviews, and I was wondering what kind of footwear do you prefer in the workplace? Personally, I've gone with Red Wing boots with a steel toe, but recently have wanted to try something a little lighter and more breathable, but still hold up, a slip-proof sole, and a reinforced toe. Just curious on your input. Aaron, great question. So I'm probably the worst person to ask about proper footwear in the workplace. I wear New Balance tennis shoes, running shoes generally in the workplace. And there's a couple reasons. One, I don't do a ton of heavy stuff, right? Not a ton of engine work, not a ton of transmission work. So I'm not super worried about dropping something on my foot. Knock on wood. Of course, now on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, I'll probably hurt my foot. So, I tried some of those other ones. I tried some really high dollar shoes, really, $250 shoes. I've tried New Balance, their work safety shoes, steel toe, slip-proof sole and all that stuff. And I hated all of them. Tried Walmart's cheap $20, slip-proof steel toe shoes, and I didn't like those either. The problem with steel toe is that they're heavy, and it's heavy on the front of your foot, and that is awkward to me. In addition, I really hate wearing boots, period, but I really hate wearing boots at the shop. We're bending down a lot, we're crouching a lot. To me, that's super uncomfortable. I were going to switch to like a proper professional footwear, I might look at Redback. They seem to make a really good product. A ton of guys wear them. There's been a handful of guys at the shop that have worn them over the years. It seems to be a much lighter shoe, but still has reinforcements and it's still slip proof. A lot of people will buy a moderately priced boot, $40-50. Swap insoles out. That's another good way to, one, prolong the life of your footwear and to make kind of a less expensive or lower grade boot maybe a little bit nicer to wear. We really take footwear for granted, man. We're all on our feet all day long, crouching, doing weird things, spilling oil, coolant. We have to worry about slips as well as getting stuff into our shoes. So keep that in mind. Don't cheap out on footwear. I usually spend about $60 to $70. For whatever reason, New Balance athletic shoes just work fantastic for me. Again, I know that's not the right footwear for our environment, but that's what I've gone to, man, and that's what I found that works for me. So we'll throw that as the question of the day. What do you guys wear in the shop for your footwear? All right, next one comes from Enio. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, man. Is it normal for an 01 Cabrio automatic to have issues accelerating? When I first saw this question, I was like, of course, it's an ABA with an automatic. They're all crazy slow, but let's get some more information and see if maybe we can give him a hand. My girlfriend just got a 2001 Cabrio. The issue she's having is that from a dead stop or slow roll, if she wishes to accelerate quickly, it revs so high and hardly picks up speed. But with light acceleration, it moves just fine. This is also an issue for her merging on the highway. All right, so that's kind of a weird one. Normally, they're just dead slow all the time. You probably have a transmission that's about worn out. Those AG4s wore out pretty regular, I guess. There's a mod on VW Vortex, and the name escapes me. It's like the Kerma mod or something. That's probably a diesel thing. That doesn't sound right, but do a search on VW Vortex, and it'll give you a mod that you can do. And what I think it does is bumps the transmission pressure up. That's helped a ton of people. But I will warn you, do not just willy-nilly do this. We had a guy at the shop do it on his brother's car, and now the car, I think, only goes in reverse. So it can, puke a transmission that's kind of borderline or on its way out the door. He also mentioned about swaps. The swaps are out there. What a great opportunity for like a VR6 transplant, engine transmission into that car. I've always been a fan of the Cabrio with the VR6, obviously. So that's an option for you, man. Those transmissions are out there. Probably a handful in junkyards. You can get rebuild kits pretty inexpensive, but how much money do you want to put into a transmission on a car that's 14 years old, to get it back to having the same transmission? If it were me, I'd be looking manual swap. I'd be looking VR6 swap. I might even consider like a 1.8 turbo swap. Big fan of a 1.8 turbo swap in a Mark III or Mark 3.5 like the Cabrio. So check out that mod on VW Vortex. I'm not recommending that you do it. I'm recommending that you check it out and see if the description of what that fixes is maybe a little bit in line with what you got going on. Also, it's probably worth checking the fluid level and condition. If the level's low, it can act weird. Normally, that's more of a cold issue than an acceleration issue. Normally, it's worse when it's cold, is what I mean. But check the fluid, right? It's free to do. You'll need a scan tool technically. You can temp gun the pan and get it to about 35 degrees Celsius and check the fluid from there. If it's already out, on its way out, do a fluid exchange. Make sure you put the right fluid in it, right? Get the right stuff for it. That's really important on those transmissions. If you're already experiencing transmission problems, have a plan to do something, whether it's a manual swap, another automatic, powertrain swap altogether. Have a plan in case it does do severe damage to the transmission, but you're already on your way out the door. I'd put some new fluid in it, check the level, and go from there. Do that as a starting point. All right, next one up. Hey, Charles, I'm moving to another state in a month, and I'm going to start applying for jobs before I get there. What will help me stand out as an entry-level lube tech compared to the other guys? And what about pay? Pay, let's talk about that one first. 1,000% dependent on where you go. If you go to a dealership in a really high-end area, you're probably going to make more money. If you go to a dealership that is in a lower-end area, you're probably going to make less money. Your experience is an important factor. I think you had mentioned you had done some of that before, so you have experience. Keep that in mind. But pay, man, the real reason I included about the pay too, guys, there's never, ever, ever, period, ever a better opportunity to negotiate pay than when you first get the job or right before you get the job and if you're about to leave. But a word of caution, if you want to throw down and say, if you don't give me a raise of this, I'm going to go, you better be ready to roll. I've seen that work out really well for people and not so well for people. So always be ready to walk if you're going to make that threat to your boss. But there's never a better opportunity really than before you get the job. If you want 15 bucks an hour, tell them you want 15 bucks an hour. If there's no way they're going to pay it to you, they'll tell you, right? You may come in at 13 instead of $12.50. Some dealerships have a standard. Maybe they start everyone at $12. Talk to the folks about that. And negotiate strong, especially if you got the leverage to pull. Negotiate strong going in. That's your best bet. Now, as far as standing out, man, I've done a bunch of videos on this. I actually did one last week on some things to do to stand out. Get there on time. Look nice. Know what the hell you're talking about. Know the industry. Do research on the dealership, right? Go to their website. See what kind of cars they have on the shop. See if they have an employee about me page. Do the legwork, man. Put it in and learn about the dealership. You know about the brand. Make sure you let them know you're an enthusiast if that's the case. Any little thing that excites you about the brand, about the industry, make sure you talk about that. All right, next one comes from Ainsley. After replacing the electronic steering rack on my 12 Audi Allroad, I'm now left with warning lights on in the dash related to ABS. I had a noisy steering rack and went ahead and replaced it. Started the car up and the dash lit up with traction control messages, tire pressure monitor, air suspension faults. Didn't think much to it initially as I assumed they would all reset with the steering angle sensor. Having completed this and verified it with VAGCOM, I'm no further forward. The culprit appears to be a code in the ABS module incorrectly coded. So you got a lot going on, man. ABS module lost its coding. What I would hope that you have is a full scan of the vehicle before you did the work. That way you could just pluck the coding out of your VAGCOM log, punch it into the ABS module, and hopefully be good, right? If you don't, boy, at a dealership, what we would do is we would just dial up Volkswagen and try an online coding and hope that worked. That works most of the time. So what else can you do to work around this coding thing? Well, you can have it towed to the dealership and have them do it and pay them $100 or whatever and let them recode it. And that's exactly what I just said is probably exactly what they're going to do. You can also try and use VAGCOM's coding helper and see if you can walk out the coding based on your equipment. Just be really careful. You know, I don't think you can really screw up too much on an ABS module coding, especially if you're not driving it, if you're just coding it and getting it set. The other thing that I would really recommend, since you have VAGCOM, you have a VAGCOM cable, is give the guys at VAGCOM at Rostec, give them a call and talk to them. And I'll bet you they can get you helped out. I'll bet you they have some kind of documentation of possible coatings for your car. You know, maybe it's one of 3 different coatings that Allroad had. But if I couldn't manually code it with the coding helper on VAGCOM, and I don't want to take it to the dealership as a first step or a second step, I guess, I'd call the guys at VAGCOM, call up Rostec, and talk to them. And I'll bet you they'll be able to help you out. I will say, though, if you don't have an official VCDS VAGCOM cable from Rostec, they're probably not going to help you out a whole lot. In fact, their outgoing message is hilarious regarding that exact thing. So some people might be a little put off by it, but hey, you know what? They sell a product. They have the software. If you're going to buy a $10 cable on eBay and expect them to bail you out, you know, to be fair, that's how they make their living. So the guys are awesome. They'll be more than willing to help you out. All right, got time for one more, and this one comes from Michael. And Michael, even though you didn't follow the process, I think you got a really great question. So I'm going to sort of sum up Michael's situation. Basically, he started as an independent technician doing oil change, tire rotation, timing belts, the maintenance stuff. Moved to a dealership, has kind of a love-hate relationship, as he put it. He's doing all that same kind of stuff, plus a lot more diagnostic work, kind of getting his butt kicked sometimes because it's a very different world going from doing maintenance to doing diagnostic work. So now he's at the dealership, getting a lot more of that, getting his butt kicked from time to time. And I'm going to kind of read some of the questions that he has because I think we can all, as a community, help him out. So Michael doesn't have access yet to VW Academy. Wants to know if I have any resources that I'd recommend to use to start learning more about electrical systems and diagnosis. So for this one, Volkswagen specific, go to the older guys in the shop and see if anybody has a wiring diagram SSP, right? The actual book. If you got some old timers there, there should be some of the actual books out there, and learn how to read Volkswagen wiring diagrams if you don't already know. That is vital, 100%, super key to being able to do electronic diagnosis, electrical diagnosis on any cars. Got to know how to read and interpret the wiring diagrams. Next, check out a dude on YouTube called Scanner Danner. Brilliant dude, right? Super brilliant. What he teaches will not directly apply to Volkswagen, but the theory is incredible. So he's the kind of guy that I want to be as smart as one day. I don't think I'll ever get there, but Scanner Danner, razor sharp dude. He puts out books. He's got 1.5 million videos. That's an exaggeration. He's got a bunch of videos. And again, he puts out a book. So buy his book. Now, I don't get any commission or anything for that. Maybe him and I need to talk about that. But dude, I'm telling you, it's worth whatever price you will pay. It's worth it for that book. Next, he's planning on picking up a Power Probe 4, a DVOM, which is a multimeter, digital volt ohm meter, a soldering iron, and a test light. Are there any other tools I'd recommend for starting out doing electrical diagnosis and repair? First of all, ditch the soldering iron because at a dealership, that's pretty much a no-no. There's very rare cases where we do solder repair. A couple reasons, you know, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to solder. A lot of people are really bad at soldering, which was always my thing, is why we didn't do a lot of it. Volkswagen didn't want technicians doing it just because there's a lot of guys that are terrible at it. I'm not amazing at it. I'm pretty good at it. I can do a good job, but use the right stuff, man. Follow the Volkswagen wiring repair method, and that's probably another book you want to ask around for some of the old timers until you get in the system. And once you're in the academy, it'll be no problem. So what else? A lot of guys like the Load Pro. I've never used one. I don't have any experience with it. I think you can do everything that the Load Pro can do with the Power Probe or with your voltmeter. It's just a little bit faster, a little easier way. Not a bad idea to get one of those tracers to look for open wires or shorted wires. Power Probe makes one, I believe. Actually, I think I have one up on the shelf up there. So I would look into one of those, but you have an incredible start with equipment, right? You can buy all the best equipment in the world. It is not going to make you a good diagnostic technician. Start with what you have or what you're planning on getting, what you gave me in that list, and learn. Spend the rest of the money. Buy Scanner Danner's book. Put the time in and learn about these systems. Learn how to diagnose electricity problems, right? Amperage, voltage, resistance. Learn about those things. Put your money there. I think with that equipment, you'll be good in almost every single situation. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Questions or comments, throw it down in the comment section below. Hey, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, and of course right here on YouTube. Hey, those announcements that I was talking about. Cabby's gone. She went to a really rock star dude that's gonna do a cool project with his son. That means that right behind us is now the GTI in the garage. Fun stuff coming there. I'm gonna get a lot of your guys' input on this project, so stay tuned. I'll need y'all's help. Also, you guys have been bugging me about t-shirts. They are coming very soon. Stay tuned. A lot on the blog and a lot on Facebook. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, I think we're at 50,000 here on YouTube and like 11 on Facebook. So get over to Facebook, like the Humble Mechanic page. There's links somewhere on this YouTube page. I'll be doing a lot of it there. Also, you can check it out at the blog, humblemechanic.com. T-shirts, they'll probably be about 20 bucks shipped. I put a lot of effort into finding the right t-shirts. And ladies, I did not forget about you. There will also be a ladies cut t-shirt as well as something got up my sleeve that I think you guys are gonna dig. So, all right guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to that ramble, and I will see you next time.